I actually don't think this is an answerable question. I think that's one of the places we get in trouble with this is we think we can answer it. And all the great questions, all the greatest questions aren't answerable. You just improve how well you can ask them. And actionable thoughts come out of that process. But when you go out and you start doing those things in the world, you find out you got to come back and ask the question again. One of the traps of this question, what makes it worth it, is I think we want an answer that will be stable, permanent, secure, ultimate, that sort of thing. I don't think that's the case. And so when I'm thinking about this question with clients and we start to play with this, I do want to hear their voice. It's the kick the thing out, everybody else out there. We're like, what do you want? What drives you? And we come to a workable hypothesis that is often deeply informed by the past, because that's where you get the data. And then it's informed also by this desire around the future. And I think of it as a working hypothesis. There you go. That's what drives you. That's your passion. That's okay, great. Now go do it. And sometimes they won't. They just won't go do it. I'm like, oh, yeah, you don't want that, do you? It's not worth it. Because the key for me, anyway, of putting these two things together is you discover what's worth it when you go do it. Mm-hmm. And it's the worth it produces motion. Motion is the natural byproduct of having values that matter or establishing goals that you're willing to go after. If you've got a goal and you're not going after it, it's really hard to call it a goal. So the key for me here is the motion. One of the ways that I know a client or myself has articulated a worth it statement is when it produces action. And as long as it's not doing that, I'm not sure we've got a working hypothesis yet. Then what happens is they go out and they start doing things with it and we get all kinds of feedback. And then we discover all kinds of things like, was it actually worth it? And sometimes the answer is very quickly no. But sometimes it actually deepens the goal and you can start to hear them being more clear about what they're trying to go after. And they put more at stake and they start to invest. They start to spend money. They start to take risk and right. It amplifies over time. And that's when I think you've begun to figure out the worth it because it's starting to cost them something. And those two things go together in my mind as you try to figure this question out.
It evaluates in a very honest way by math what is a real goal and what's like an escape fantasy goal, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I know you were using an example in a previous conversation about how you have a family goal of wanting to take your family on a Mediterranean cruise. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yep.
And so you're making decisions to say no to things because you're saying yes to that. How we really know if that's truly worth it is when you book your tickets and you have enough money in your piggy bank.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes we underestimate the role that fear can play. And we almost can underestimate, wow, there can be times where fear or exhaustion or things that kind of, you're just in a state of overwhelm. And I do think it's careful not to throw away and go, well, it just must not be worth it to me.
Right.
Because sometimes we do find our places in points where we're not operating out of all of our strength, running full speed ahead towards that goal. Mm-hmm. And I know that for some clients, it's like, actually, they really want it, but they feel stuck or they feel hindered. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had that happen? How do you help clients identify if it's really a worth it question or if it's something that they are needing to work through to get there?
Yep. I had a client, we did a bunch of work a couple of years ago, and then he comes in and checks in, and we just do updates. And so we did one of those, and I talked to him for about a year, and he got to this spot. He's been out grinding, doing his thing, and he got to this spot with this career he's in, where it's really not going well. It's fine. He's making money. It's all happening, but it is not filling his cup, and it's draining him. The question he opens with is, I can't tell if this is resistance or feedback. I'm like, perfect. Let's figure it out.
What a great question.
Right? Brilliant question. And so we did some exercises and I let him talk his way through it. And when we were done, it was very obviously feedback. Like, yep, you're done. Timing of all that matters, like how he unwinds that. But he was really willing to just press in and just keep going. But he's out of energy. He's out of resources. He has no more internally from which to draw to do this thing. And all the feedback from his boss, feedback from the community, feedback from his wife is dude, I can't take this anymore.
Yeah.
And neither can he. So it can be very difficult to tell, when do you do what? How do you know when you need to press through? How do you know when you need to take the feedback and quit? You won't know the answer to that question before you take action. You will have a hypothesis. Like, we built a theory that he should quit, wind this down, and get to the other thing as fast as possible. Now he's going to go do something with that. And on the other side of it, he'll get feedback again.